Good evening. Good evening. We are at episode 11 of Straight to It. I'm here always and ever with my brothers, Mike, and that's Jason, and me, Clem Boogie. We are the trifecta of this podcasting thing. So before we get started, one thing to put out there, if you have not subscribed, please press that button.
Word.
If you'd like to comment and leave sharing opinions, we embrace it. We endorse it. Doesn't mean we have to agree with you, but you're going to hear our point of view. But anyway, on to tonight's episode. Uh, it's a very, difficult but yet informative, ugly, also a good harsh lesson that everyone, there's no age group that's ostracized from this topic, and it leads us to gang culture. The reason why we agreed to do this one, yes, this is something that will not get solved overnight, but I think there's different aspects and points that could be made about this topic in itself, how you receive it, how you view it. And you're more than welcome to share your opinions. Some people have experienced it, some people have survived it, some people not so much. So with that being said, all three of us will dive in and we're going to do our best to get straight to it. Mike, lead us off.
Um, again, with all three of us, our views on stuff is going to be a lot different because gang culture now and gang culture then is two totally different things. Gang culture, when we was coming up, you were officially affiliated with it. Like, you were really in it. You was running with people. You were doing this. You were doing that. Now, it is an association. You know what I'm saying? Where a lot of this stuff derives from young kids, one, online, claiming things that they don't have nothing really to do with just because they've heard about it. Because like I said, being in the schools, I see it. You know what I mean? I see like kids that be like, there's this and there's that. And then, you check their outside lives, and their outside lives have nothing to do with that. They're just claiming this in the school setting because other kids in that school setting are claiming it, but they're also doing the same thing. They don't have no real affiliation with it. You know what I mean? As far as with us and me in Harlem and stuff like that, like I seen a lot of that, especially the blood part of things, like really develop in Harlem. Like I remember when certain people came home and they were some of the first people that sparked that movement in the neighborhoods, and then other people started associating with it and getting involved with it and things like that. But like I said, now, you know, kids are just, I'm this, with no real ties to it. And you got another kid who's saying that now, the kid who said, I'm whatever it is, I'm whatever this gang is, they're bringing other people and making them members of that gang that they were never really associated with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we got a lot of different things. And even back then where there were, basically as far as we knew, and not even say other than the Blood, Crip, Latin King.
Mm-hmm.
That was it coming up.
Right.
But then as time went on, people were messing with one of the others and started branching other names of groups out and all this stuff like this. Like in my neighborhood, they had LNW.
Right.
You know what I mean? That was kind of it branched off of one set of things that happened, which was for a younger group of kids that really the OGs wasn't letting them be involved with it. Like, nah, y'all too. So they kind of went into their own thing, as far as I know, of creating their own situation and stuff like that. It was hitting hard for a minute. You know what I mean? It still might be rocking and stuff like that, but it faded back out now to more of just back to Blood, Crip and stuff like that and
Right.
whatnot. But at one point in time, like in Harlem and stuff like that, that was something that came off of one, off a particular group because the OG was like, nah, this ain't for y'all.
Right.
This is real deal. Like, and they had to create their own thing and move forward with it. But again, the culture right now, like, it's hard to say because I don't get caught up in the social media part of it,
Mm-hmm.
where the reason why so many people look at it the way they do is because they just only see the negative that comes along with it. I know people that are in these particular Blood Crips, Latin Kings that do great things for their community, like are really helping and doing it in another manner. And then you got the other kids who are, or the other people in it for the fighting, the glory of being involved with, maybe drug dealing or something like that, or whatever it is that comes along with it. Or for some, having protection.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they didn't feel comfortable being out there. Like it became, as far as even in New York now, in certain places, like you had to pick a side.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You had to be like you rock with somebody who did something. You know the way I hear it now. Because if not, then you just lonely in the street, and now everybody looking at you like, yo, who homie with? Who this dude down with? Who this? If you in those environments. So again, me being out here in the South and seeing it from a different aspect, where, like I said, kids don't even be outside like that. You know what I'm saying? So you don't get to see that. And then in the other neighborhoods where it is real hood, it might be a few kids out there, but not like how it is in the city,
Right.
where it's just boatloads of kids all over the place that, that are interacting in different things because the environment just like that. Out here, like I said, my block, I got about 4 kids on this block, and they're never outside like that. You know what I'm saying? And other blocks. And I go to parks out here. Like it's a some, but it ain't really like that. So again, a lot of this, to me, is one, developing in the school system. That's where these kids are being up and coming, because in their neighborhoods is not going down. But when they get to school, and so on and so forth. So again, the culture of this is bad because it's being glorified through our music, through some of the TV stuff that we see and stuff like that. But the part that gets me now is that it's being glorified, but at the same time, y'all also seeing the consequences, like right in front of your face, like people going to jail, the killings, the this, that, and the third. So how they're not looking at it and saying, this ain't for me. Like I said, you ain't gonna go to McDonald's and take this job. You knew they was shooting and doing all types of stuff, and then you're gonna pass on that because it's crazy. So why are you signing up for this when you seeing the outcomes and the results in most cases?
Yeah. Jay?
Yeah. Going way back, I remember before New York had gangs, and it was kind of like just neighborhood crews, right? Dudes had like little snazzy, really cool names for their neighborhood. And yeah. But most crews had like 3-letter acronyms and all that. And that's kind of where the early 80s was, where a lot of the older heads in my neighborhood were just like crews divided in blocks. And it was just associated by friends that grew up together. They didn't let outsiders in. They weren't trying to grow in numbers. There wasn't, there was a difference in crews and gang culture, right? Gang culture is trying to become the largest gang, the most at whatever they're doing. Where, for me, crews felt safer because now don't get me wrong, there were some crews that was just, and that's always good and bad and everything. Yeah. And but I remember crews being defensive in the neighborhood, where they didn't let people outside the neighborhood come in to wreck shop, to do things that were negative neighborhood. That's kind of how I always grew up remembering that, in the Lower East Side, like, tons of them. And like you had the Allen Street boys. You couldn't go to Allen Street and act a fool because they weren't going to let you, rob a lady in Allen Street. Them dudes was not letting that happen. So like, that's kind of how I always envision gangs. If you're going to be in a gang, that's what I always envision would be the best way to maneuver. But then things transformed, right? And I remember vividly, I was on Rikers Island when the Bloods formed in Rikers Island. I was there, front row seat. I know some people. And there was a lot of other things going on. And it just felt at the point where they had, and I'm not saying right or wrong, but they felt like it was an inevitable shift that was needed because of the racial separation on Rikers Island. And it was inevitable. It was inevitable. You had, the Latin Kings, you had the Nietas, and then not gangs, but, beliefs and associations, you had the Muslims, you had the 5%ers. So everybody was so separate.
Mhm.
And if you was outside those four, you really
Right.
had to throw your, like you
Mhm.
Right.
really had to like, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good brothers, that follow their belief, and then there was a lot of that just followed, and they didn't
Right.
follow the belief, they just followed people, and they were moving like gangs, some of them, and
Mhm.
so another force coming in was inevitable. The Bloods forming on Rikers Island was inevitable. I never knew it was going to be that big in the streets. I'll be honest. I thought that was
I
going to be
remember.
isolated. Oh man, it was crazy. But I
Mhm.
remember being there when it formulated and thinking, oh, you know what, dudes is not playing no more. Now they got each other's backs. I remember thinking like that, never thinking Compton, never thinking all this LA stuff when I was a kid, because that was the only way I heard of Bloods and Crips was in LA.
Right.
I
Mhm.
never fathomed it was gonna grow that large.
In New
I
York, the
saw
way it did.
I never I couldn't you couldn't pay me to believe it. Like I didn't think it was gonna happen. And
Yeah.
Well,
and the reason why when it did happen originally in Rikers Island, I was like, oh, I get it. Now I wasn't in none of them, but I remember saying, I get it. Because dudes was like, yo, we gotta formulate too now because everybody's everybody's ganged up and now we on
Mhm.
the outskirts and we need ours too. So I understood when it formulated, it felt like something of unity and union and so on. And then
Right.
of course it seems to just always go south. And that's what every gang that I've mentioned. Everything, the origin story is always empowering, right? Even in
Mhm.
LA, when the Crips formulated, it was probably one of the greatest stories of union ever told. And
Yeah.
then things always go south. And I think that Mike, you said it really good. The social media thing, we're not the most well versed in gang culture when it comes to social media. I think that what happens is we've seen this from MySpace all the way on, where there's always people who tend to say more
Mhm.
aggressive stuff on social media than they would in person. And I
Mhm.
think that is even worse in gang culture because one, you have to, even if you are about it or you're not about it, I can't judge an individual that I don't
Mhm.
know. But I do know that on a psychological standpoint, someone who's associated in the gang, they have to live to an expectation. You don't have to puff
right.
your chest 24 hours a day, but there's an expectation and a line loyalty, and there is no half stepping in anything you do when it comes to that. So people tend to be a little more aggressive than they normally are,
Mhm.
and social media magnifies that. And it's an unfortunate thing that was added to gang culture because I'm late to the party, but I started listening to a lot of like you know 2020, 2019, 2021 rappers, like the new
Mhm.
cats, you know. And one, I have to say, these kids are incredibly talented. A lot of old heads, our age and a little older, are always mocking them, mumble rap, and all this other stuff. But I took time to listen, and it's unfortunate that most of them are in gangs and
Mhm.
either dead or in jail. Like I didn't even know this, so I took a I'm happy we're touching it today because I took a deep dive on a personal note to really
Mhm.
listen to these kids and then to dig in like who is this King Von dude? Because dude's talent was I swear this kid could have been a legend. And then I
Mhm.
kind of find out he was murdered, he was in a gang. And it was just like it was such a sad thing after hearing like 15 of his tracks. I saw like 10 of his videos. I'm like, yo, how I never heard of this dude, because I'm doing the old head thing, right?
Mhm.
And and it made me wish that enough people, like we were powerful enough to be united and intervene in so many of these talented kids lives before
Right.
the gang culture consumes them and then robs them of dreams unfulfilled. I mean, I was marveled by the talent of these young kids. Like I was letting old heads brainwash me into thinking that they all wasn't talking about nothing and they all was just mumbling. I mean, this dude was on some slick Rick-ish, but on this his own style. He was telling stories. And I was
Right.
like, man, I was robbed of this. Like, like these kids really are talented.
Yeah.
And it was just sad that gang culture robbed this kid and robbed everybody, to be honest, of
Right.
probably his best work that never came out because he was still a kid. And I just think that gang culture, and you know, I don't want to offend anybody, but in my experience, inside, outside, in the streets, even in the workplace, even in like and like Mike said, heavily in the schools, even when I was in college, in the schools, dudes is in college, but they gripped up and banging heavy. And so in my experience through the journey of every area that gang culture is festered and growing, the negative just outweighs the positive by an enormous amount. And I wish it didn't, because there are so many that do good. And I'm telling you, I've seen it with my own eyes. It's not a rumor. I've seen people out there, like, you know, handing out turkeys. You know, they're not trying to do it just to stay out of jail. They doing it because they give a crap about their neighborhood. Like, they doing it. And you know, and it's sad that the negativity is just, you know, so many young kids, man. You know, I mean, I could go on. I could get real long-winded because it's a sad topic for me, because I've seen so many of these young, talented dudes just wiped out, and it really is because of gang culture.
No, you guys both hit on some great points. I mean, you know, we're all in the same age group, and we've all seen similar experiences, if not more. I think what is very concerning is that, I think, Jay, you hit on it. This gang affiliation stuff, when it first in its infant stages, was to help out the oppression, especially in LA, New York jails, whatever the case may be. It was to protect your neighborhood. You know, token, if you see the old lady, old man, or whatever, help them out, blah, blah, blah. Take care of your own. Somehow or another in the mix, it got twisted. The message, some, you know, craziness, whatever. But funny enough, it's not only in our culture, because, you know, we do get the brunt of the negativity when it comes to this aspect, gangs, you know, the posses and, you know, whatever. But, you know, in every ethnicity and every affiliation, there's a gang. I mean, for white people,
biker dudes,
they have you know, you have those Hell's Angels. You have, even if you want to take it a step further, when the prison system, jail system, they have the Aryan Brotherhood, neo-Nazis. You know, we covered the black. We know that. Hispanic, you have Nietas, you have Dominican Power, Trinitarios, the Latin Kings, MS-13, on and on and on and on. Even Asian are, you know, are part of it. They have their thing. And then you go across seas, you got, you know, those Russian guys and all those kind of characters that they don't really give a damn about their life, because that's their way of life. When it pertains to gang culture, the reason why I thought, you know, us three would have a lot to touch on is because we're seeing a lot. And I'm just going to throw out some names: Young Thug, Ja Morant, Gunner, a whole host of other people. Some people you might not expect: Chris Brown, Soulja Boy. You have some actors where it's hidden. I know sometimes Denzel Washington's background gets called into question because he's been affiliated. Not too many people knew how he initially got on, but he's been affiliated.
Nipsey
Hussle.
Yeah,
correct. There's a whole host of characters that are dealing with this current time, and it's sad. Now, the message I want us to kind of tackle is, what is the appeal? And I want our viewers and listeners to understand that, like, in this lifestyle, there's really no turning back. Like, some do get out of it. I know some. I think all of us know people who've gotten out of it and could move on. You know, they can move comfortably, but some don't. Some are behind the wall. Some are buried. They're no longer here with us. But I think the messaging of it and the dynamics of gang culture is concerning, because, Jay, you said it. You took the time out. I think we all enjoy music, but you took the time out to see and the growth of music. Like, of course, here in the Bronx, we have drill music. What that is, I have no idea. But, like, I know it's there. It gets them in the door. and they're doing stuff, and people glorify it. It's putting money in their pocket. But the concerning part also is there's a gang. The machine is the gang pushing behind them. Why is that? Like, why is it so heavily influenced? Like, I understand we have it in entertainment. It's circled around us. We've seen it. We've had to walk through projects. We had to walk through different neighborhoods and stuff like that. And these kids just, they are willing to lay it down at all costs. They don't care. The gun might be heavier than them. They'll use it. Whether they're going to hit their target or hit a bystander, something will happen. But the casualty of it is 5-0, 12, or however you want to classify them as. They know who you are, because the big moniker is snitching, and how everybody's downgrading. No one's snitching. You guys are snitching on yourselves, simply because all the handshakes, all the movements, all your meeting places, all your set players, the cops already know that. You guys just have this thing where you don't care. You don't care. Your supposed leaders, big homies, OGs, and yada, yada, they don't care. They use you guys as pawns, but you go along with it because you feel that there's a tremendous asset that goes with it. You're part of something. Most of the time, some of these guys, have no direction, or whatever the case may be. They need money. They need just anything, just be inclusive of something. When doing that, that's not always the right thing. You got to pay attention to who's guiding you. But, I don't take too much away from the younger crowd. Like, yes, for me, I bristle at them because it's like, you know what? We're surrounded by tons of opportunities and tons of options. Some may argue that, but the choice is what you make. Whether it's good or bad, you make that choice. And that's going to be a tough pill in the end for either side to swallow. Mike, go ahead.
So you said something a little while ago, and Jay, you said something. So yeah, what was crazy, like I said, there was 3-letter joints. My projects was FEB.
Mm-hmm.
F everybody. And like I said, it was the block. You couldn't be from uptown and be part of that. You had to live in the projects, have some type of your cousin, somebody, but you had to be in our, and I wasn't part of it. I knew everybody from that, and my affiliation with that was the same thing of I was the hood basketball player. So I was accepted by almost all groups in the neighborhood because I was a hood basketball player. We might have went to elementary school together and we grew up together. So I was able to be accepted into certain things or be able to be around the particular groups without having to be worried about anything at those particular times. But going into this, and this is just, again, which is messed up, it's a black thing. It's a minority thing. And with that being said, what I'm saying to it is our stuff is highlighted all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Ja Morant, but you got to look at it again. When you said Thugger, the Ja Morants, back then, the Gilbert Arena, stuff that was going on. We got to look at it like this. Like I said, in other sports with other races that may be the primary person, or like I said, Bad Bunny ain't involved with none of that. Mm-hmm. So you're never going to hear that in the Spanish market. For soccer, Messier, all them dudes, they're not dealing with stuff like that. So it doesn't get highlighted that way. But them cartels, they rock every day, all day. They're worse than these situations that's going on. These Caucasian groups that do whatever they do, the biker groups and all that, they thugging since day one to the day, doing way worse than what we're doing. But again, they're highlighting ours. And then, and even with highlighting it just on the natural of black, or minority, now we have our celebrities, our high stature people being involved with it. Like I said, you don't have Seinfeld is not involved with stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? But there's Jewish gangs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's Jewish gangs. There's African gangs. I know this for a fact. But Michael Blackston is not in that. You know what I'm saying? For us, our celebrities and all that stuff are affiliating with these particular things. So this is how their names are crossed. That's what's making it seem super bad in regards to these particular situations. Again, like I said, these other celebrities, these other celebrities of other races are not doing these type of things, so it don't get broadcasted the way it does. Now, in the Spanish community, there's people doing stuff, but you're not a celebrity, so we're not talking about it the same way we're talking about a John Morant, the same way we're talking about Young Thugger or whatever it is. Because, like I said, what's the other? A couple Julio Iglesias, all of they're not affiliate, but imagine if he was, it would have been blown up.
Yeah.
But it's just that our super celebrities and musicians and athletes and stuff like that, because that is our environment that a lot of us were in. And like I said, even then, it was still a separation. So that's part of the issue again, where we do it with some, but we don't do it with all. Like I said, I couldn't do nothing in New York because I was the ball player. No matter how much I may have wanted to be around stuff or do things or whatever it was, I wasn't accepted because it was like, bro, do what you're supposed to do. Now, like I said, someone like a Ja may have gotten that his whole life, bro. Get out of here, man. Go home. Now you got the bread. You know what I'm saying? You doing things, you pulling people into your circles that you shouldn't. Like I said, I've been around rapper dudes who live lives and all that stuff like that a certain type of way. And the people that came around them was really the ones bringing all the extra drama and the energy because they wanted to prove themselves to this person to be like, I'm riding for you. I'll do this to this person. I'll do that to that person. I'll do this to this person. And, and in time went, those particular celebrities stopped dealing with them people. You know what I'm saying? It's a growth thing and whatnot. And like I said, for Ja, his situation, like the live joint was just stupid. That was just plain old stupid. That wasn't a influence, anything. That was just silly, bro. Like you're just dealing with this and then you do something like that. Like you didn't think that was gonna bring you any attention. You knew it was. You didn't know it was gonna get you the backlash like this.
Right.
He's looked at it. He guaranteed he looked at it as, because all of us, even on regular posts, you think about what you posted. Ain't nothing that blind where it's like I'm just snapping pictures and hitting posts, and not looking at what showed up or whatever it is. Like all of us, whether it be a food plate, when I put my plates up there, I make sure lined up, wipe it, like everything we put is like that. So he knew, he just thought it wasn't gonna be this big. He was looking for, again, not the approval of the good people. He wanted the assholes in the knuckleheads to fuck with him. He wanted them niggas to he knew us three wasn't like, hell yeah, that's what's up.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He was looking for the love of other people and stuff like that, thinking it was a game. And now you got to deal with it. And not only you, now your dad has to deal with it. Because all I kept thinking was, what type of is he dealing with now that it is, bro, you had what's up with your son, bro? Like, I know he getting all types of everything. Now they're looking at you like, because now for me, like I said, just thinking about it, you at the games, you doing all this, that. It's even going to come out, he used to be a former gang member. It's going to be something that they're going to try and fit it into it and stuff like that. But again, like I said, the stuff that he did, and, again, it's just being highlighted again because it's us. Right. Because it's, like I said, I'm a Sopranos guy. I watch all these other Amish, this, that, and the third. It's going down. It's just those are regular people doing things, so nobody recording it or whatever it is. Their celebrities are not doing it. Like I said, and even when their celebrities are doing it, once again, like you seen the other day, I posted something. I said I'm gonna post something positive about John Morant because everybody else is posting something negative. Right. And even right now, I may send y'all some funny stuff, but that's behind the scenes. That's in our group chat. I'm not putting it up there for everybody to see and feel like I'm promoting it as well too, or I'm making fun of him as well too, or whatever it is. So that's the same thing with like I said, other races. Yeah. They're not doing that. You ain't see people. You ain't see no white people, Caucasian people making fun of what was his name? Brett Favre.
Yeah,
We talked about it. We ain't nobody as far as with Mexicans and other people in it. They're not making fun of that people. They're not joking about it or whatever it is. They're just like, it's just, we don't talk about it. So that's how it fades out. But for us, we'll John Moran it up all day. It becomes, it's the topic. We like to be the topic of negativity. We like to promote it. I remember we were just how all this kind of started was Kanye.
Mhm.
Almost everything since then has been some type of negativity towards our people, but there's so many other groups doing so much stuff out there that is not highlighted. Why? Because them other races and them other wasn't it? They don't acknowledge it. They don't even accept it. Brett Favre ain't do that, and this shit could be on paper. They still like, nope. This person, nope. This person, nope. Donald Trump, nope. Even though it's right in your face. For us, it's like, oh, he's a clown, he's a fool, laugh at this, laugh at that, make jokes, put it into raps or songs now and flip it to other situations and stuff that keeps it going. Right. That keeps this going. You know what I'm saying? Like Kanye said, all of a sudden, we don't talk about Kanye no more. Ain't nobody talking about the possible deal restructure, the positive shit. Nobody talking about that. But if he fuck up, that's going to be the topic of conversation all over again. But ain't nobody talking about how Adidas trying to work a deal to get them back now. We ain't talking about that with the same energy. So again, it goes back to us as a people, what we're promoting. We're continuing to promote negatively. And again, like I said, it's our celebrities. That's why I tell everybody, like, I don't care what nobody say. LeBron James has had the best career as any athlete ever.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Ever. Football. What's the name? Yep. This, that, the third, because no one has done what he's done as a sports figure and never been in trouble. Never. Not even a what's the name? Did the family man thing since high school, took care of his family and brought his kids in? No. Yeah. We talked about Brett Favre. Yeah, not Brett Favre. Tom Brady, yeah, but they didn't have the pub that he had coming out of high school. Some of them got their joints when they became pros. You know what I'm saying? Right. Or maybe, but you didn't. That dude won on high school, came in the NBA, did everything he was supposed to do with no flaws. Only flaw anybody could say once they do it was to switch up to go to Miami. That's it. And I don't have nothing to say. At one point in the beginning, like, it's business. We are looking at it that way. But again, as far as what we're talking about, we got to get our major players out of this.
Yeah.
Stop piling it that way.
Yeah. You raised some great points with that. And you did highlight actually what would be one of my points. Why is that? Like, when it comes to our culture, black and brown or whatever the case may be, negativity travels far. It travels the longest. It's trending. We're the butt of all jokes, and it just never seems to just stop. Like, there's no productivity in, positive steps, or, like we've all said, I think common sense kind of supersedes a lot of things, you would hope. But someone in John Morant's corner, or, a Chris Brown's corner, or whoever's corner, why is it that we can't find just that one singular person to just be like, listen, you make upwards of $300 million. At least that's what you're projecting. Why? Hanging out here with us, that's not it. You provide opportunity. I'm trying to be in the good spot. I'm trying to get out of this. You already made it. You went to school, you did everything. Got drafted, signed your contract. You went from being a regular dude, you're a millionaire now. Different responsibilities. I think when we see these kind of things, and also, us coming out from our respective neighborhoods, don't get it twisted. Some of the same people that we grew up with that were affiliated or doing some clown shit, they are still doing some of the same clown shit when you walk around. Yeah. That doesn't change. Like, I know we want to make things seem like there's a bridging of the gap and like there's a gradual evolvement. Some people just don't get it. And mind you, we are in our 40s. They don't get it. And it's not my responsibility. It's not you guys' responsibility to, you know, put them in the armhole and just be like, look, brother, you gotta change it up. What's concerning now is you're starting to see females do it. And, you know, I like Cardi B. I enjoy all that, but I don't know. Some of the messaging, I'm not going to sit here and be a choir boy about it either. But for people who know her humble beginnings, if you want to call that, she had to start somewhere. She's also too affiliated in gang culture. She makes no bones about it. But I think now, being who she is, she went from Cardi B to Cardi B. And like, you have all these young girls, even grown women, following, you know, some of her footsteps, her lyrics, things like that. I think a lot of the challenges are that we are so influential to a fault, where we hang on certain people's words, some of the lifestyles that they, you know, kind of, you know, publicize, fantasize, or speak about, rap, or whatever the case may be. We want that. And it has not, there's no qualms about having wants and needs, but what you want is not necessarily what you need. And I think a lot of people, and everybody's in different stages and different pockets of their life. So if either one of us at our juncture go do any kind of crime, we're putting not only ourselves in jeopardy, we're putting our families respectively in jeopardy, right? So you do these things, and I feel like a lot of the so-called OGs and, you know, big homies, I don't know, they're not steering the younger crowd in the right way. Yes, there are some, but some can't really do all because they have, you know, their codes. And I respect it because, you know, some of those guys I know on a personal level, I've talked to them, similar to you guys. We all are in the same boat. If they saw us in the street, they give us dap, handshake, you know, how you doing, blah, blah, blah. Keep it simple. We're not talking about the old days about who hid crack under, you know, a tire drum or anything like that. We don't talk like that. But this younger crowd, what they see, that's a realization for them. They think that's what real life is. Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm gonna touch on a couple things. You know, back in the days, NWA, King T, Ice-T, an array of people that lived gang culture or were heavily affiliated, and you know, they told stories,
Right.
they told truths, whether it was life experience on a personal note or on a visual note where they seen it firsthand, and they made it clear. I can remember dozens of NWA interviews where they were clear that they are not role models and they are telling a story. They are talking about what they see every day, and that people need to know this is what's happening. They're getting beaten by police and all this is going on. And then they make it very clear whenever they, you know, I remember it was more backlash on the F the Police song, which put them on a most wanted list. The FBI had them on their list for terrorist watch for a song. And around the same time period, Ozzy Osbourne, who was a rock metal guy, ripped a head of a bat off on stage, and no one cared. A live bat at that. He murdered it with his mouth. He bit the head off and spit it into the crowd. I remember that vividly. I remember that. But we cared about the F the Police song, even though they explained they're only talking about the ones who don't do their job and they beat innocent people. That's who we're talking about. So it's F those guys. And yet it's because, and I want to make it very clear, I believe wholeheartedly in studies I have been a part of for my master's and my doctorate, in my public health studies, in my psychology studies, this is a known fact. This is only happening because of the color of our skin. And I don't like to play the race card.
Yeah.
That's it.
But this is 100%. I promise this is what it is. And it's sad because, so what happens is this. Record labels, right? They love those stories. They push it. They encourage it. And then what happens is, you know, it's not like before where people were ex-gang members or ex-affiliates like Ice-T. Ice-T's not in no gang, but he can speak about it because he
Right.
grew up there, right? And now he's like, nah, I'm a grown man. I don't deal with that no more. I remember in an interview, someone said, how did you live your whole life once you got into the music and the acting? And no arrest, no gun charges. He said, because I ain't do nothing to get arrested for. I ain't do no gun charge shit. I spoke about it because I already went through that when I was young. And I was able to leave it because I wasn't in it in that type of area. I was an affiliate. So problem now, I know that it's, for everyone that's not immediately in that type of life, it's easy to say, once you start getting money, you should stop doing that. And that's hard. I'll tell you why. One, you make a lifetime vow in some of those gangs. And people expect you that even if you making money, now you're the come up for the gang. And they don't expect you to be like, you know what, he's doing well now. So you know what? Fuck the rest of us. Even though we always get money and we looked out for you before, but now you getting millionaire money. So you should just leave us alone. Nobody's thinking like that. And that's one of the major problems, is that people love you when you're with them. They don't love you enough that they want you to leave them because it's better for them. And that's one of our problems that we have when it comes to hip hop in the modern era, right? So like you mentioned earlier, Clem, drill rap. So a lot of drill rap isn't kids rapping about shit they don't live. They're signing gang members who are talented.
You're right.
It's different than when it was us. In our era, a lot of dudes wasn't in gangs, but they rapped about it because they understood it. They lived it. They have friends in it, family members. We got cousins in gangs and stuff like that. So, rappers were able to rap about it, and it was certified. People were like, oh shit, he know what he's talking about. That's real. Now it's they're signing gang members to speak on that and live that, because there's an attraction to that. They don't care about us. That's the first thing. They only care about the money that we can provide them. And so it's not that the other races and cultures are not doing negative stuff. Mike hit it heavy. We highlight our own shit. You know what it is? There's another study that's out, and I implore everyone, if you get a chance to look at it, we're the only people that subconsciously, and this is not all of us, it's just a good amount, we're subconsciously seeking the approval of everyone else. So we will shit talk our own. And we don't realize that's why we're doing it. It's subconsciously embedded in us because we grew up seeing what we were fed about us, even if we'd never seen it in our own lives. But we were fed these stereotypes in every screen that is visual in our life. Every screen, TV, computer, laptop, phone, tablet, every screen has fed us false information about ourselves more than any other race. And that subconsciously, we want to be accepted so badly, and we want to detach as a race. One person does something wrong, it's like we got to just automatically bash them because we're not the blacks that do that. And that's the problem we have, is that we have to stop doing that. One thing I would say, I know that I love memes. Memes are funny because I don't feel like, but I like memes about I like to post memes about everybody. But when we start bashing on a level that it's like, oh, you know what? This dude is going to ruin this. Like the same way we can only highlight that, we can also drop a little couple words of encouragement. And if we're going to comment on Ja Morant's post, right? We're going to go to his page and then tell him, yo, man, you fucking up. Like, no, but we can also say, yo, you know what? Whatever you going through, man, I hope you get through that. Like, we could do that. And I think that's more powerful than criticizing a situation we don't understand. I can't understand. And Mike, you said it. We don't just randomly do that because we pay attention to what we do. So I can't understand. I can't fathom myself doing that at this stage of my life. But I don't know his life. I don't know if his dad, like you said, it might come out in the future that his dad was affiliated. We don't know. I don't know his background. Like guns might be a normal staple in the household where they play around with it. We don't know that. So, and he could have been drunk, and he could have just been like, you know what, I'm gonna be an asshole since all of a sudden everybody want to put me out on this stuff, so now I'm gonna be a dickhead. I've done that. Let me be very clear. In the MySpace days, I've been an intentional asshole, just like that. Now it wasn't, of course, with guns or felons or nothing like that. But like, if people were like, "Yo, he do this," and I know I don't do it, I'd be like, "I'm gonna do it now, and I'm gonna do it so
I get you.
you get mad." I've done that, and I wouldn't do that no more. So I don't know where his head's at. He could have been intentionally doing that. Like, I'm an asshole now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it could have been like, you know what? And not
like,
think
I'm be an asshole. Like now say something. He could have been doing that. Another thing I want to also highlight is that we are the only people, when we're successful, it had to be because we sold our soul or the Illuminati. I've never seen no one say that about Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, nobody else. We're the only Jay-Z, Rihanna, Beyonce. We always sell our soul. We always the Illuminati. We always this other
and
shit.
Jay said that.
We the ones that start that. White people don't even start that. We do that. A rapper start
Jay
getting
said
real
that.
rich, and we sold our souls. Like, we're the only people that do that. And I'm like, yo, nigga, everything ain't a fucking symbol and a sign. Like, shit just be happening sometimes.
But like,
how is it that everybody wear the same garment, but the rapper that wore it, it's a sign? And the white guy that wore it that has more money, nah, he just work hard. And you know, he worked 24 hours a day. But when we do it, we sold our souls. I think
blood sacrifice.
We have to protect ourselves because we so like I'm telling you, these studies are real and people can look at it. You know, look it up. I implore people to really start looking. That's when I started to really evaluate myself. Like, damn, do I really subconsciously seek approval? Because I really had to really take a moment and say, damn, I wonder if I do that. And we do that more than anybody. Asians don't do it at all. And this is
now, here's the thing. In different ways. And that's the thing that we all got to understand about human nature in itself. So to jump off of that and go into other things with that, sorry to cut you off, that's just like with the horoscope thing. Virgos are this group is this group is that. Everybody is all of that. You're a perfectionist in your own way. You're a perfectionist in your own way. I don't like to talk to people at times, just like this group don't like to talk to people. Oh, Geminis have two sides. I got two sides. One day I'm this, one day I'm that. So that's what people got to really start understanding in regards to these situations. So again, it goes back to one, us promoting it of our own, us promoting the negativity. But it goes again back to being brainwashed. Like I said, like I know for a fact that I'm brainwashed in my own particular ways. There's things that I do that I know I shouldn't do, but I do it. Like I said, like when I get off of here, I should go work out, but I'm gonna sit here like I normally do, eat, watch TV, go do the stuff, and wasn't it? Because it's been my cycle of things. And that's the same with some of these particular gang groups and all this other stuff like that. Like what's being promoted again is the positivity of it. They showed it wasn't it, but it's more kids. Like I said, that's why everybody wants to be an influencer. Why? Because all you see on there is influence and it looks like they're winning. So why wouldn't I want to be an influencer? So when they say, oh, that was one of the number one things that this, that, and third, why wouldn't it be? If you're getting all this money to record videos and live in this, that, and third, why would I want to be a doctor?
Right.
So again, like I said, but then they try to put it on us and be like, look, they all want to be, the minority group want to be, but that's a smart thing to do. If you really getting your money like that, I don't want to be a lawyer for $300,000 or whatever, or $1 million a year when I can go post videos and do egg on the spoon and run in for the same thing and live how I want to live. So again, they got to stop trying to paint it that way. Like anybody, if another person could be an influencer, like I said, they do it. They just do it differently. You got all of people, you know, not to say this, I see a bunch of white ladies who are now speakers. You know what I'm saying? They're doing their, you know, mothers who, like the ladies who don't work. All of a sudden, they're yoga people now, and they're doing their different things and all this. And all they're doing, again, they're giving out affirmations and all this stuff. Where'd that come from? That come from us. They're just doing it for their own particular crowd. You know what I'm saying? So again, it's the people who are in charge of the things, which is the social medias and stuff like that, they're going to continue. Like I said, the algorithm, they're going to continue to pump that stuff for us because we're the ones who are using it. But like I said, the Latino groups, they got their own stuff. Let us say this: back in the day, I used to be on Miente. Like,
Yeah,
I'm in there. You feel what I'm saying? But you'll be surprised, there's still a Miente going on.
Yeah, it is.
You know what I'm saying? And that's a whole nother world that we're not even in. And they're showing all types of stuff like we're showing. They're showing the gang violence. They're showing people getting beat up. They're showing all this stuff like this. Ours is just being promoted because they want to continue to put us in a negative light. That's all it is. So like I said, if this was real, like everybody, the world would be horrible. It'd be like a purge. They're lying. You can walk outside right now, walk to the store, and come back and don't have to worry about nothing.
Yeah.
So, but they're promoting it like, hey, you step outside, you got to worry about this, you got to worry about that in our communities. Nah, it's not always like that. And it's like that in these other communities. I've been to some of these, low class, other races areas, and it's going down. If you hungry, you got to eat.
Yeah.
If you ain't got nothing and somebody else got something and they look like they can do it, they go and steal it. Or they go and do whatever. But again, it's just being promoted, and we are also promoting it. We're also continuously pushing it. Like I said, nobody's talking about Brett Favre. And he got the nerve to be trying to sue people for them getting at him.
Right.
Yeah.
And ain't nobody talking about that.
They won't. The media and all, everybody that puts light on these kind of things, they kind of branch and play on narratives. So like they rather, what's a good example? Thugger. They want to talk about that. But, also to extend from that of us causing damage to our own, I think that the DA down there is a black lady, right? And she made some like wild statement that this won't be tolerated and yada yada, and he's going to go down because of they've been watching him since however long. What I don't like, and I know you guys can attest to this, is that like the people that are like seemingly doing the disciplining, they look like us, right? They look like our parents. And do you ever see them talk to any white suspects or defendants the way they talk to us? They don't.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Like you said, with these rock groups and all of that, all right, we might be the RICO law. Now rappers can't say stuff because if you're saying it, then we're going to assume that you're doing it. Ain't nobody going after none of these heavy metal groups that's talking about killing everybody and all this. Y'all not checking them. Y'all not saying, well, you saying you're going to kill this or you're going to smash, you're going to shoot this up. We need to bring you in. We need to bring you in the same way we brought Thugger in. Right. You know what I'm saying? Which part of that is totally trash. You feel what I'm saying? Like you trying to bring people in on lyrics that they put in a song. You haven't seen me do it. You haven't nothing. But this, and then the same thing with the snitching. Like they highlighting that. You're not highlighting these other dudes who snitching, who been snitching. Right. Oh, because why? They CIs. They under y'all protection. They telling every week for y'all and doing all this. But you ain't talking about, over here, this dude snitching on the whole family. His mom's, uncle, aunt, this, that, and the third.
It's terrible.
But y'all did the Gunner thing. The other guys, y'all every 2 seconds they putting something up there about the YSL. Oh, another dude telling. Because one, so that's the next thing with that. We again are the main issue of the problem. So going back to when what's the name first came out, like the Love and Hip Hops and all that stuff like that. Watched it in the beginning because it was people I knew that was on there. So it was dope to see my people doing shows and stuff like that. But then as it continued to grow and there's Love and Hip Hop this and all these other different shows here and here and here, again, it was nothing but drama. It was nothing but drama. Drama. We watch it. This is what people feed into, all crazy and this, that, and the third. So like I said, they just going to keep giving it to us. If you want to keep seeing this, and we're going to keep flooding out this, because y'all love hearing about somebody snitching. But nobody talks about Tekashi 6ix9ine like that no more. That came and went. It was like that for a little while, but came and went. So Now with us, every second, YSL this. Why do y'all keep talking about this? Who really cares about this? Who really wants to know this? I don't care who's doing what. I don't deal with that.
Yeah.
But our society and the kids and all the stuff like that, they think this is of importance. So like they said, they're flooding us with it all day long. You go through like the Ja Morant stuff. Everywhere you turn, it's some type of, it's ESPN, NBA, and let's say another major thing. But then you got all these other blogs and everybody else who's talking about No Jumper, these places, what's that? Stephen Smith and all of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's too many people talking about it on a public platform. Whatever you said, like you said, they was like, we did all of that. Steven Jackson. Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, they put up a post like, we did all of that, so on and so forth, this, that, and third. Again, they got to look at what they're saying and how that's going to be highlighted and kind of put out there as a good thing, but also put out there as a negative. Right. That same situation that y'all said, I could have called that man and told him instead of telling another blog what you just said. Right. And now they spent it into kind of like, y'all don't fuck with him. Y'all fuck with him, but y'all don't. Y'all don't approve it. We know you don't. But again, that should have been a, bro, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That turned into that. Now that's all over the place. Right. All these other guys who's speaking on it. That's why I respect LeBron when he was going through with his stuff, when he was saying certain things like no comment. I ain't got nothing to say on that. But
I think a lot of it, not to cut you off, Mike, I think a lot of it has to do with also the changing of generations. Like our generation, like you knew when to just kind of like just shut up. Like if you weren't like directly associated with said situation, there's no comment, right? You don't have anything to say. But now the world we live in, social media, the internet, whatever, everyone has an opinion. Everyone can go on their phone, write a comment, or IG Live, or even Facebook Live now, or even what we're doing, go straight to YouTube and just voice their opinion. Because why? You're going to get someone that's going to click on it for viewership. And once it's that, it formulates an opinion and it just tends to just like widespread. People need to understand that like it's easy to be behind the computer. And I think both of you guys had said it earlier, but in real time, in real life, do you stand the test of time to stand in front of that person and tell them what you just typed? No, you probably don't. Why? Because you have nothing. You have no bearing to it. What Ja Morant is going through, and I'm going to say it, and, hopefully someone gets in his ear because he's going to sit down. I don't know what the length of time it is he's going to sit down. What this all derived from was a pickup game. Pickup game that ultimately turned, it got chippy, whatever. We've all played sports. We've all dealt with, competitive juices, things like that. And, people say stuff and sometimes it gets into certain things, whatever. But when you start going into these things of you started brandishing a gun or, the kid was 17, like everybody starts throwing out ages and like the difference of age, and you are a wide known superstar in the biggest league in the world. It don't look right. Like you can defend people, but you have to understand you can only defend them to a fault. And I think for him, he could have canned that. Of course, it would probably been a payout, or he would have had to, do like a public apology, and that would have been it. I think with our culture, we're so defiant. That IG Live, when we all saw it, it was like, are you kidding me? Like, why? Why would you do that? You went on IG Live and you did, so you knew what you were doing. Whether it was him or one of his mans in them, that's not it. Because if you remember, there was a game, I think one of his teammates had hit a 3-pointer and they scrutinized him for the celebration that he did. And the celebration was him.
The gun celebration.
Exactly. Imaginary shooting a gun. I was like, this guy, that's the first, they're not going to say that the team won or he played well or anything like that. They're going to go right to that, and that's going to make headlines. So for him, I see his dad. I know his dad is involved in literally every game, whether it's on the road or home, especially. But Ja Morant is the breadwinner of that family. He's the come up of that family. Right. What people have to understand, and I think all three of us already do. We respect it because everybody's, family situation is different, is very unique. No one knows what's the backstory. I'm not saying he's a bad kid because the area he grew up in, it ain't hood. It is not hood at all. Like, everybody's been doing memes to death. He's been the butt of all jokes and all kinds of things. So he's not hood. He's a regular kid. They put out his whole government name. It's not even Ja. I think it's like Jamel something. And like, everybody in all this whole situation just needs to grow up. But all this bears conversation. And Mike, you raised a good point. The people that are adding their 2 cents, they could have called the kid and told him, listen, what you're doing, totally off base. You got to get right, because right now you're very, very important. Right, like, trying to be tough. That's the part I think I have a hard time understanding. You make all this money and you put in all the work, all the training, all the sacrifices you made just to hustle backwards. Please make it make sense.
It's different because, like I said, like, that could be who he really is. Like, that's the thing. Like, sometimes we looking at because someone didn't come from a particular whatever it is and so on and so forth, that's not in them. No, it could be. It could be something that, like I said, as a kid, that was just like, wow, like, this is, but never had the opportunity to be involved with it. Now I do have the opportunity, and I'm free, and I got bread. I could buy any gun I want, this, that, because, like I said, if not, not to say that I had a certain amount of bread, my house, I have a room like John Wick. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it would just be that way. And someone look at me like, the stuff that I have, people like, yo, like, what you about to go to war? Like, I like it. Like, you know what I'm saying? It ain't, right. I just like them. I see these things, and they might remind me of, what's that, Predator. So I'm like, yo, that was a gun Arnold Schwarzenegger got in Predator. I want that. You know what I'm saying? So, again, the other stuff, the IG Live, like I told y'all, that was, he knew. Mm-hmm. He knew what he was doing. It was just, he didn't expect it to go this route. I already know they on my back. Like I said, what you saying that, you just got for that after the shot, what's this? So you knew if I put something real out, they gonna go crazy. And not even saying it like, y'all going crazy to like a 22. It ain't even look like nothing crazy. So what y'all going crazy? Like, ain't like he had the AK but I get it because of all the other stuff. And again, we're going back to this. So now, even with that being said, so all of a sudden this kid decides to tell us, now y'all said this happened a year ago. Right. All of a sudden this has made a big thing at this particular point in time. Could this be the NBA trying to do something? And at the same time, could this be, like I said, y'all in the mix. So now what we're going to do, maybe 50 games. So this is the rest of this season, playoffs, and next year.
They don't even count the playoffs. That's the rest of the season and like 37 games next year.
Exactly. So again, so like I said, and I get it on their behalf of sending a message. You know what I'm saying? Because once again, if we look at it, as far as we know, it's only been our Black and brown communities that have been bringing that extra negative imagery towards the NBA.
Right.
Like I said, Tyler Hansborough, Christian Laettners and all that, they wasn't doing this. You know what I mean? Gilbert Arenas, they still talk about all that stuff to this day. I know y'all seen that, and that was hilarious. The one with Gilbert, I said the Gilbert Arenas and what's the name, John Wick thing and whatnot. So again, it carries.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it carries because it's what's being promoted. It's our own consistently promoting it. Like I said, talking to all these blogs, telling everybody, like I said, again, your opinion, trying to tell him that he's wrong and this, that, and the third. Yeah, he made a mistake. He's making a mistake. He's still a young man learning life with millions and millions of dollars. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, like people said, I'm happy he said that because that gives him a chance to get back. Jalen Rose, if you've seen the thing, Jalen Rose spoke on it. He had a good thing to say about it. And I think even with Jalen, his stuff has changed because he got a lot of backlash for the way that he kind of came at minority situations before. So this was the first time, in my opinion, in a while that I've seen him kind of do it from a voice of caring from the beginning. Where before it was like, yo, you wrong, this, that, and the third. And that's what we need to do. Talk in that, man. And like I said, some of them are doing it. But again, if we continue to talk about it, it's going to be out there.
Mm-hmm.
But if we, like I said, they got hush hush when it came to Brett Favre. You couldn't ask no other white person about Brett Favre, and they was going to talk about it.
I agree.
They wasn't. Whether it was football players, whether it was the NFL, whether it was other actors or people who knew him, and this, that, and the third, nobody spoke on it. The only people of his race that spoke on it were people who were associating themselves with the minority community. So that's why they spoke on it, because they wanted to put their plight on, like, we rock with y'all. He's stealing from y'all. We on y'all side.
Right.
You wasn't just doing it from a he's wrong. You know what I'm saying? You like, I'm over here with y'all, and he's wrong because y'all feel he's wrong. I'm with y'all, and I want y'all to rock with us. I want to be able to feel comfortable with y'all, so I'm going with y'all on it. It wasn't just like, bro, you wrong.
Right.
They associated themselves with that side and then said he was wrong with us, and then said he was wrong. It wasn't just them coming out. They, all these people who know him ain't just coming out speaking on it. I listen to the radio stations, all of that. They'll talk about this Ja Morant thing for 3 weeks straight.
Yeah.
Somebody will call in and be like, but it ain't as bad as what Brett Favre doing. They'll talk about that for 2 minutes and go right back to Ja Morant. But did you see the IG Live? What that got to do with Brett Favre stealing all his money?
Right. Yeah, it's the circle of events with these kind of things with media, period. Which is why all three of us can agree we don't really pay attention to the news, because they kind of pick and choose what they want to put out there and kind of, let people's minds run with it. But, hopefully he finds his directioning. But yes, he's not the only one. This is for the everyday person, whether man or female, because like I said, now it's not that it was ever like a low population of females joining gangs. They've been doing it. It just doesn't get spoken about. Also, us, the young men and stuff like that, they're being groomed. Luckily, we were, we had wits about us when we were at that age and at that sector. Like I said, time in and time out on other episodes that we do. We've lived the test of time. We've lived through the crack era. We've lived through gang sweep ups. We've lived through Y2K. We've lived through a lot. I think there's a certain level of perseverance and resiliency that we have that I don't think this younger generation has. They're smart, they're talented, but I think their exposure to real life situations, they don't have it. They in some ways have to look at their predecessors, whether it's parents, guardian, or someone they deeply trust that can walk them and tell them about the game, about life. And I don't think there's too many people in those corners telling them about that. Like, yeah, you have the mentors, you have proteges and things like that, but it's hard. And I know for Jay, and I'm going to let him expand on it, we worked in healthcare, and especially the platform and in that setting, in that stage, you've done it for almost 20 years. And I know you've saw a lot, because in the place we worked, that was just pretty much like, lock and key situation. You saw the worst of the worst. And like every day it was like, okay, you know what? I have to make sure that I can finish out this shift with no BS, no nothing. But, there came some challenges, but I want Jay to really paint the light. And that's really what I want Jay to do. I want you to paint the light, because I don't think a lot of people know about the nooks and crannies that you had to deal with for almost 20 years.
Yeah. So, I work inpatient psychiatry in Bellevue Hospital for almost 2 decades. Mm-hmm. And it's different than what everyone, the light that is painted when people growing up in New York with the Bellevue Hospital jokes and, oh, you crazy, you're going to Bellevue. It's an entirely different world. When somebody's having a psychotic break and they're too violent for Rikers Island, they send them to Bellevue Hospital. we have a prison unit, we have a jail unit, 2 jail units that we hold that individual in with workers walking around, no weapons. We don't get nightsticks. We don't get a turtle squad. We don't get none of that. It's just us and the ability to try to talk to somebody. And some days it can be very violent. And some days you really feel good about what you do. Um, you have every demographic, every age group, and you see the difference. So this will add into what Clem just said. You'll see one difference that I know is that a lot of people who have a longer lifespan and been through a lot more traumatic situations, when you sit and talk with them, there's a different depth of understanding as opposed to the younger person who they're absorbing so much information from their gadgets and they're not really putting it into play, or they're not getting the information from actual physicality, from being out there and engaging with someone. What they're doing is they're going on YouTube and they're learning, how do I do a job interview and what questions should I, instead of actually going out there first and living it. So there's a difference in how the individuals who are both equally suffering from traumas, but how they're able to express it, because one entirely large generation has not been privileged with the ability to express themselves before the screen is engaged in their life, right? So I think that children who spend the most time on the screen become teenagers who become dependent on the screen. And, you know, it's hard to engage with someone like the old school way. You look someone in the eye, you shake their hand, you do this, you do that. A lot of that is slowly fading away. And it's not really the fault of the youth. I don't fault at all, because it still exists. It's just that I believe that information in that era, um, it's a double-edged sword. It's great. I think having unlimited access to information is great. But when that's all you're doing, and you're doing that more than you're actually living life, that plays on your psyche as well. And then it goes back to the hospital, where people who have lived that and they become so dependent on screens, there's a higher level of violence there, because their way to express themselves is a little bit different than someone who had to express themselves in person their whole lives, and then in the latter stages were introduced to this type of way of living through a screen. So I think a healthy balance is needed for every age group. I think that the youth, there should be a lot more outside. I think that the elder folk should be open-minded to the gadgets. I think there's a healthy balance that's needed. I think our age group, and I'm not saying it just because I happen to be in it, but I think our age group balances it very well, because we lived a great portion before it and we benefit from it now, and we understand it both ways. I think we're probably the luckiest age group. And I think it's just our job just to express to them that there is health in both ways. There's no, you know, one way just isn't going to cut it anymore. We're in a technologically advanced world. You can't be like, yo, I wish it was like the 80s, because the 80s ain't going to cut it in 2023. The 80s is going to get you left behind and homeless. It don't work no more. I think that we have to, when we do engage with our younger folk and our older folk that are both sides are against the other way of living so heavily, I think we should just, impress upon them that there's a greatness to balance. I wanted to add something about something earlier before we shift off. To all the young folk that are in gangs or affiliated, and you want to do entertainment, you want to be an actor, you want to be a rapper, you want to get money, you want to be an entrepreneur. I promise you this, that nobody in those fields are going to help you get out the game, because the game brings them money. And everything bad happens to you is great publicity. And I don't want that for you, because, you will be exposed. You'll be dragged through the mud, because like we all were just touching on, that's what we talk about. That's what the world talks about, right? Ja Morant right now is his turn. It was Kanye's turn a month ago. that's what we do, is that when people are at their worst, we talk the most. And I don't want that for any of y'all out there. Um, you know, I think that I wish the celebrities that were in the gangs and they started to live a better life and they became millionaires, the Cardi B's, the whoever else is out there. What I wish is that instead of continuously bragging the gang life that you no longer really live, um, when you go around your people and y'all start, banging, why not start a business together? Like, I feel like, you know, I feel like gang culture should have an end game. And there's never an end game. And that's the sad part of it. And I think that's one thing that everyone in gang culture right now, ask yourself, what is the end game? Like, you're gonna be the toughest guy at 70? You're gonna, like, someone can't wear red at 70? Like, I think you have to ask yourself, what's the end game? Now, are we doing this now because we felt we've been oppressed, so we clicked up? But then what's the end game to that? Because now that you're clicked up, you're not immediately oppressed anymore, because now you're strong. So what do you do with that strength? Oppress other people? Bully other people? Commit crimes to other people who feel oppressed now because you felt that way? And I think those aren't addressed enough. There's no end game. If you are in that life, you have to talk with your OGs and say, yo, OG, what's the end game? Because I would love if we could start a business and stop banging. Like, we could still be affiliated, we could be a brotherhood, we could still move together. But what's the end game? And that's going to be my closing statement. Ask yourselves, what's the end game? And do you love your brother enough that if they had to leave you because it's better for them, that you would love that they leave you? That's real love.
Well said. Mike, go ahead.
I'm gonna touch on something that I don't know we spoke on. So I know y'all know about the situation with the kid from, I think, Alabama.
Yes.
And I think a player, and he got the gun and ended up killing the young lady, which is totally wrong. But there was so much on the kid who brought him the gun.
Yep.
Right. And
projected lottery pick.
Yeah. So my thing with that, when I was hearing it and not knowing everything and stuff like that, he brought him his gun. Then it come to find out it was the guy who asked for it. You call me and say, Mike, my gun, I need it. I'm bringing you your gun. It's your gun. Like, that's it. Like, I don't know what it is or whatever it is. If you calling me frantic and you're at a point where, like, you sound like it's like that, then I might ask you, yo, what's the situation? What's the situation? But even if you don't go into it, you ask me for your gun, I'm going to bring you your gun.
Right.
Now, if it would have been a stolen gun, his gun, somebody else's gun, you bringing it, then, like I said, you're totally wrong. But this is his gun. However he got it, he purchased it, whatever. Even if he had a license, he didn't have a license, you're asking me for yours, and we live in the same household. We share a room together. Yo, I need you to bring me my joint. It's under the whatever. Where you at? Simple.
Right.
So, him dealing with all that stuff, the school, and that's the part of it again. The school, the people who should be standing by this young man are the people who are giving him the most slack. They're at the school's convicted felon. They saying all types of chants. 2 days ago before this, he was y'all pride and joy. You know what I'm saying? So again, that just goes back to what we were talking about as far as your own circle is the one who promotes so much negativity, towards the situation instead of really trying to help you out in those situations. And as far as just, again, with that life and all that stuff, again, like I said, I've seen people, like, as far as the youth, black, white, whatever it is, they don't want to listen at times to the older because they don't see nothing past tomorrow or today. So they don't look at it. They don't look at, like, OG was banging, he don't bang no more. Like, we don't got nobody in their 60s and 70s like that's out there saying they bang like that. And even if they do say it, they just saying it by feeling. They don't do nothing. They go to work or whatever they do. It ain't like they out here $150 in people and all that stuff like that. Like, they're done. So like you said, what is your end game? What is your end game? And again, it just goes to what they decide to highlight. Because I told you, it can't be that bad. There's way more people, there's way more young Black people doing the right thing than there is doing the wrong thing. It's just what social media and stuff like that highlights and what we gravitate to. Like I said, the algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
If like I said, my algorithm changes because, like I said, I look at horoscope stuff. I read certain things off of that, this, that, this. So I get a lot of stuff in that rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get certain things. I miss certain things. And that's the same thing I said with that. Like, there's certain people, the reason why this is like that in our community, because we're talking about it. There's certain other races that don't even know who Ja Morant is, like, at all. But they're putting this on there. Why? And that just shows again who controls. So ESPN is playing that. I guarantee they ain't talking about Ja Morant on ESPN Deportes. They don't care. They don't care. They're not putting that up there. It's even with us knowing that information, we're not putting it up there because the people who we deal with don't care.
Right.
Like, in certain stuff, just like I said with me, I don't know nothing about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I couldn't tell you nothing about it. I couldn't tell you. Like I said, I'm right down the block from the NASCAR stuff and whatnot. Bubba Wallace, all this stuff. Only reason I know about it because he's Michael Jordan's dude.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. But all the stuff I be hearing at times, the fights and blah, 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 why it ain't because I'm not in that circle. So for us, like I said, it just shows again, we are the environment. ESPN talks about it, this, that, and the third. But like I said, they ain't still bringing up the Brett Favre stuff. That ain't get settled. But they're gonna talk about this Ja Morant stuff left and right. They're gonna get on players about load management and stuff like that, and so on and so forth. And again, it just keeps coming back to us, trying to paint a negative picture of us in so many situations, which is crazy.
Yeah. For me, I just want to highlight that the Mafia was probably the well-known introduction of gangs or organized crime.
Yeah.
I want people to understand something. The RICO statute was made for organizations like that. Us Black people, let me tell you something. If you think you're going to beat a RICO case, you are sadly mistaken. We don't win. If Italian people who I would say even designed it, with Jewish lawyers can't beat that case, you're not going to beat that case. When it comes to these gangs, my heart goes out to some of it because a lot of it is direction. We all had discussed that, some people just frankly just don't like to listen. They like to play with the stove. They like to play with the burning iron. They like to play with things they're not supposed to play with. Gang culture, when it was introduced and to what it is now, it's not something to play with. A lot of the people who get involved in these things, and we've said it and harped on it enough, for protection, but most notably it's influential and it's for to be inclusive of something. But the end game, like Jason had stated, there's no pension at the end of being at a gang. You know what your pension is? You sit in a box or you're laying down in a box. That's what these gangs bring to you. And I'm not saying that all of them are bad, but you have to understand the ideal of it. You have someone walking around with a blue flag, someone walking around with a red flag, someone doing some kind of symbol or tagging the wall, and that's their signature for war. You don't want no problems with that kind of stuff because these things, there's no ending. When you join these gangs, whatever person you're in that gang with, their problem instantaneously becomes your problem. You might have no dealings, you might have no ill will, you just want to do it because it was a fad, it's cool, blah, blah, blah. It's not a fad. You don't get choices with this stuff. Both these gentlemen have explained to you. You're signing some part of your life along with it. And if you don't understand that, like they always say, read the fine print. Here, there's no signature here. You understand this walk, no one asked you to do it. You're choosing to do it. You have opportunities in life. We all have opportunities, but the choices that we take, you're not in charge of that. But I say that to say this, whether we talk about Ja Morant or we talk about any high profile celebrity or anyone in the limelight, I agree with both of you guys. Entrepreneurship should be a big value. It should be a definite touch point for them to express, especially for the people in the young Black communities to understand, like, yes, I made it out of there. I made it out of PJs. I made it out of Lower East Side. I made it out of, King Towers. I made it out of, Soundview projects, this, that, and whatever. There are tons of people who have made it, but, like we've already expressed, they don't talk about it. We're the only culture that they don't talk about success stories. They talk about detrimental factors. They talk about how we're in Rikers Island. They talk about how we're in Clinton facility. They talk about how we're in Pelican Bay, how we're in Jessup, how we're just about everywhere. They talk about us, we're good for trafficking drugs. We're the biggest kingpins in our hood. We destroy our communities, and the list goes on and on and on and on. Never a good thing. They don't talk about like what we had touched on, gift giveaways, turkey giveaways, giving money to the homeless, buying stuff for the homeless. I'm not a fan of recording, doing something, charitable. I know I feel like too many people get caught up with that stuff. That doesn't make you a good person. But understand this, not everyone is a bad apple. We do look the same. We are from the same culture, but a lot of us have different beliefs and perspectives. And I just want people to understand that you definitely have a choice. Don't get into something you don't know nothing about, because these things, they're nothing to play with, and you're going to be paying a hefty, hefty price. But I implore a lot of people to understand RICO. Yes, they can give you the RICO and you won't win. That's just a death sentence. They just don't tell you that. And as far as checking in and snitching, I don't know. Like, if you were a young kid and your parents told you don't tattletale, don't do it. But if you've grown up and you're cooperating or whatever, that's your business. But understand there's consequences also that come with that, choosing that lifestyle. You can't just sign in and out and say, I don't want to be a part of it. To some degree, some people want to drop their flag and do this and that and the third. It just doesn't work as simple as that. I think it's much more complex than what it appears. But yeah, for gang culture, it is what it is. It's here. It's influential. It definitely plays a part in the hip hop community. People are going to continuously talk about it. Executives are going to pay for it, endorse it. So it's here to stay. And, part of me is okay with it. Part of me is, kind of devastated by it, because you do see a lot of lives get lost. And, there's just no remorse and no recourse about it. And the shit is terrible. But, that it is what it is.
All right.
Anyway, that's our show for tonight. I want to thank these gentlemen, my brothers here. Again, if you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe. Comment. We are always open to your criticism, and we'll see you for the next episode. All right, gentlemen. Have a good one.
Same.
Later.